up, everybody? This is Bems.
And it's Ace. And this is episode 4 of Serving Up the Tea.
It is.
We have a lot to talk about this episode. Of course, last time we covered Olympics just at the beginning, and now we are post-Olympics and back into our tennis schedule.
Yes, it's hard court season, baby.
Very exciting time.
All right, Ace, tell me, what's tea?
So we have a few billionaire babies on tour. One of them, Navarro, who played Qinwen Zhang in round 3 of the Olympics, had a kind of brat moment. And in her defense, it is a brat summer. So they had a tough 3-setter at Roland Garros, which is where they hosted the Olympics. And Zhang is a super fighter. She seems to be super serious about her game. Navarro is too, of course. She's had a good season. She plays well.
She's had a really good season.
But at some point, after losing at the net, there was this tense moment, and Navarro came to tell her that, well, she told us in the post-court press conference that she told Zhang that she didn't respect her as a competitor.
Which is like a crazy thing to say.
So crazy. Like, that's very deep to say that you don't respect someone as a competitor, where I feel like Zhang is mostly she's like not problematic at all. And Navarro said that she thinks that she goes about things in a pretty cutthroat way, and it makes for a locker room that doesn't have a lot of camaraderie. So she thinks it's tough to face an opponent like that who I really don't respect. End quote. I don't know what Navarro wants from Zhang. First of all, they're different cultures, different backgrounds.
Yeah, so funny enough, Donna Vekic also had something like kind of similar to say. As you know, Vekic took silver and she lost to Zhang. And on the podium, they took like these little selfies. I think they were given the phone by the Olympics because I saw it happen in a couple different matches.
Yeah, it was part of their sponsorship with Samsung.
Yeah, and she posted the picture and only tagged Iga. And I thought that was really weird. And then in a post-match interview with some Croatian media, she basically said something like, oh, yeah, there's a lot of negative things about her, but I won't get too much into detail, talking about Zhang. And my thing is, first of all, if you're not going to actually say what's up,
keep it on the playground.
Yeah. And then second of all, I think that what's being overlooked here is that Zhang is from a completely different culture than a lot of them. And obviously, Chinese culture, Asian culture tend to be quite different from Western cultures. And so I don't really know if Navarro wants to be holding hands with Zhang on court or if Donna Vekic is looking for Zhang to braid her hair at the changeover. But I don't really get it. I don't really get it.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a bit closed-minded of them to like say these things. I mean, I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I think it is interesting that both of them have something negative to say about Zhang. But again, for the most part, Zhang has been so unproblematic. I can't see what could cause Navarro to go as deep as saying like she doesn't respect her as a competitor. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I also want to know that like what else is an athlete supposed to be other than cutthroat? Like what am I supposed, like I'm an athlete, I'm here to win. I feel like it's in the job description.
Yeah, and like Zhang has been said, she does not like losing. She's here to win. She had that amazing Nike commercial
that was
where
so
she
good.
was like, should I look happy when I'm not? Should I smile when I lose? If I don't hate being second, how will I ever be first?
And then took the gold.
So I don't know what they expect from her when clearly she's here to win. She has her mind on her money and money on her mind. She also has her country, a huge country on her back. She's number 1 in China, like the highest ranked Chinese player. I think she's representing for a lot more than a lot of people can like even relate to. Do you know what I mean? Like she has a lot on her shoulders. So
yeah, she in her post-match.
I wasn't here for the brat comments.
In her post-match interview, she was like, I think this was after she beat Iga. She was like, I'm tired, but if you ask me right now to pay 3 more hours for my country, I would do it. And I was like, put the flag on your back. I know that's
I love
yeah.
it.
And also, she's about to be
Rep your set.
so paid.
And I think people don't understand that her expanding tennis in the Asian market is only going to make tennis bigger
For
globally,
sure.
because that is a
For
huge
sure.
market with like the sponsorships. They're probably keeping Nike afloat at this
No, for
point
sure. I think
as a company.
Nike is like not being serious about tennis at the moment. These kits they're releasing, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, Zhang is about to be cutting checks. I don't know about her being cutthroat, but she's about to cut some checks for a fact.
She's about to get that Naomi treatment, like big
Yeah,
deals,
huge,
big contracts.
huge.
Yeah. But what's tea for you?
Tea for me this week is so one thing about me is I'm a rom-com enthusiast. I love a bit of romance. I love a bit of kissing. I
You're
love
such a romantic.
yeah.
You love love.
I love love. Love it. But not in tennis. Unless it's for the other person and not me. But Siniakova, our doubles queen, and her boyfriend Mahak. I've spoken about this before on the podcast, how they like unfollowed each other, but they were still playing doubles together. They
They kept it business.
yeah. They broke up during the 2024 Prague Open. They had unfollowed each other. They agreed to play mixed doubles together for their country, and everybody was like, "Oh wow, so cool!" Like, you know, keeping their eye on the prize. They won Olympic gold, beating the Chinese team, Zhang, and Xian Yu, and they kissed.
It was so cute.
Like,
It was so cute. And I love that for her. Like having your man by your side. Or maybe not her man, because we don't know.
they asked them in their presser, and Siniakova was like, "That's our personal lives. You don't need to know that." And then Mahat goes, "This is top secret, top secret." And then one of the reporters is like, "Oh, but it's confusing." And then she was like, "We like it when you're confused." And then Mahat goes, "Exactly. That's how we feel powerful."
First of all, they're playing in our face. Like, this is
Literally.
a big joke for them. But love it.
They pulled up to Cincinnati together. They're definitely like back for sure.
Somebody needs to make a movie about that.
It's literally a rom-com.
Challengers 2. Oh, wait. That's what they were saying online. They were like, Challengers 2.
But who's the third
It's
person?
like a live story.
Krejcikova?
Oh, wait. I think actually yes. Because she left out of the equation.
Yikes. But yeah, that was tea for me.
Yikes.
A little sweet cup of tea from the two lovers on tour. Or one set of the two lovers on tour.
It's so time for some match point musings. First up.
I want to talk a little bit about the Olympics. At least on the women's side, I think pretty much everyone thought that Iga was going to get her gold, right? It was perfect conditions for her. She is the clay court specialist on the women's side of the tour. She is was undefeated at Stade Roland Garros.
Reigning Roland Garros champion.
She got bronze. She lost to Qinwen Zheng in the semifinals. Qinwen was the first player to beat her at Stade Roland Garros since 2021. It was like 1,100 and something days. And on match point, here's amusing. Iga thought the ball was out. Umpire came down. Let's check it. And she was like, "No, it's good." And Iga was not happy. She didn't shake the umpire's hand.
That's actually the first time I've seen her give that kind of attitude. She was like, attitude, now walk off.
No, literally. She wanted that gold bad. She wanted that gold bad.
She won that gold bad, and she's actually lucky that she got something, because this is not the usual tennis format. Like, you don't usually get to come back and win a medal. Luckily, this is Olympics. So she had to come back and play the bronze medal match. Now, Vekic had a run straight to the gold medal match. Along the way, she took out Coco Gauff, and that was also a match that was like super dramatic. Coco has had bad experiences at Roland Garros, particularly on Philippe Chatrier. So this time, and I feel like we got to break this down because there's a lot of controversy, a lot of people who maybe don't understand how these things work.
You mean bad experiences with the line calling, right? And the umpires that we're talking about specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that oftentimes Coco is right in that she does have to advocate for herself, as many players do. I don't think it's unique to
Absolutely.
her. But in this particular round 3 match versus Vekic, that line call, I don't know if she was right this time. I have to be honest with you. And you know, I go to war over my girl Corey, but
No, same. Like, we break it down for Corey. But yeah, after I saw the footage and I saw the uproar, everybody was like, you know, I feel like she responded. It was like a trauma response because she's had such bad experiences with line calls, with umpires
triggered
in big matches at big moments. She was definitely triggered. And it is a good response to like stick up for yourself at all times. This time, I feel like, unfortunately, she was wrong. It's not something that she could have known, though, because to her, I think it was so close. In real time, she would have felt like the call was made before she hit the ball.
For anybody who didn't see the match and know what we're talking about, Donna Vekic played a ball that was called out, but correction, it was good. Coco played the ball, hit it into the net. So then when the ball call was reversed to being good, Coco had wanted to replay the point, but the umpire awarded the point to Vekic, saying that Coco had already played the ball before the out call came. Because normally if her play was interrupted by the out call that was then overturned, they would replay the point. But because in this case, the umpire was insisting, and correctly insisting, that Coco had already played the ball when the out call came, therefore the out call did not affect the outcome of her shot, the point went to Vekic automatically. And that was a really tough loss.
Yeah.
For Coco.
It was. I had a lot of respect for Coco because in her post-court interview, she was honest in admitting that while that was a tough moment in this match, she can't say that she lost this match because of that. You know what I mean? That was a mature response.
But yeah, overall, I think it was a really tough Olympics for Corey. Like, she was entered in 3 different events. She was the first, second, and third seed in some of them. And she didn't even get to the medal round. I think her game and her confidence are...
She also had a lot of like extracurricular commitments. She was a flag bearer. She was up there with LeBron James. I feel like all that is added commotion, which is not the norm for a tennis player going to a tournament. You're like locked in, you're zoned in. Do you know what I mean? Now they're like floating down the Seine. They got flags. It was raining.
But doesn't she do like side events with like Carol's daughter and like New Balance and stuff at tournaments all the time?
But do those mean the same thing as carrying the United States flag for the 500 United States athletes participating in the Olympics? It was a lot.
That's true. I'll give you that.
But anyway, as we said, Coco is young. Her mental is still developing. I feel like she handled this one correctly because while she couldn't turn the match around because I felt like she was already losing, she came back and finished the match, but definitely had a little breakdown there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault her for fighting her case with the umpire. I mean, she did the best she could with the information she had at the time. Honestly, she was still playing the ball when the call came. So I see where she was coming from, but it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the play. The ball was going into the net. It's the forehand. Do you know what I mean? So
I was trying not to say it because we say it every time, but it is the forehand. And that's something she also needs to address.
Speaking of addressing, though, let's talk about our girl, who we do love on this podcast.
Danielle Collins. I was hoping for more.
Had a tough time against Iga Świątek.
She did, understandably, but she has pushed Iga pretty far before. She's beaten Iga before.
Yeah, she has.
Yeah, and that was one hell of a match. I literally watched a replay of that match like days ago because it's one of my favorites because I am a Collins fan.
You are a huge Collins fan.
And I find Iga is kind of rubbing a few people the wrong way this season. This is another case. Collins had an injury and Iga was trying to act like Collins was being dramatic.
Is that what happened?
Is that not what happened? Like she
No,
wasn't.
so according to Danielle, what happened is that Iga came over to her after she
Okay.
retired mid match with injury. And Iga came over to her to be like, sorry about the injury, da da da. And she told Iga that she doesn't need her to be insincere.
Because she thought Ego was being fake.
And Iga, when they asked her, she was just like, she doesn't know. She was not going to argue about it because she doesn't feel she's ever done anything unpleasant to Danielle. And all she wanted to do was congratulate her on a successful career because we all know this is her last year on tour. She doesn't know what she meant because she doesn't even have any interactions that would cause her to say that.
You know, Danielle just be spicy when she feel like it. I feel like this is one of those moments. She was just like, get out my face. Get out my face.
Emma Navarro said that she really bonded with Danielle Collins at the Olympics and she taught her how to be more like herself. And I was like, not both of them attacking.
Literally, but it is
that
true. Like, if
over?
anyone's going to teach you how to be your full self, it's Danielle Collins because she just, it is what it is day to day. She's her full self.
Yeah.
Stands on business.
But, yeah, so then Danielle obviously tried to like push through the injury that caused her to retire against, I always get withdraw and retire mixed up, but to retire against Iga. And then she played a doubles match like an hour later, but they lost. And that unfortunately meant that there were no U.S. women in the medal rounds in any events this Olympics, which is the second time in a row that this has happened.
Yeah, people thought it was sus that she pulled out of the singles to then go and play the doubles right after. But I feel like the singles is definitely more physically taxing. So depending on the injury, you might be like, okay, I'm not going to win here, but let me just save what I have because I have the American flag on my back. It's not an individual game anymore. So you're going to like pull out the singles to hold off and see what you can do in the doubles. And I feel like that's what she did.
I mean, yeah, and I also think that she didn't want to disappoint her.
Her doubles partner.
You know, you want to like show up for them if you can. Somebody who definitely showed up was Anna Karolina Schmedlova.
Yeah, unexpectedly. We didn't even look for her there, but there she was.
Yeah, she had actually never reached a semi-final higher than 250 on the WTA tour. And the last time she had won more than 3 matches in a row versus top 50 players in any event was in Cincinnati in 2015. So almost 10 years ago since she had a run like this. But she ultimately lost to Iga in the semifinals of the Olympics. But she had, on her way, beaten the number 34, the number 22, the number 5, and the number 10 to get there. My favorite thing about her is that she is not sponsored by Nike, but like wears them every tournament. And I was like, oh my gosh, if she gets through to the final, Nike's definitely going to give her a deal. But she didn't get there. But let's see what Nike does for her.
I feel like she's definitely on their radar now.
She's been loyal, like me. Nike needs to give me a deal too.
Listen, showing up at Lancaster every week, Nike down.
To the socks, honey. Like, my sister's always like, if Nike made underwear, you'd wear that too.
They should. Defs would. Wait, did she play Iga in the semifinals or in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, she lost to Liga.
This whole gold, silver, bronze
In
thing
the semis,
confuses me because semifinals is 2. And then the winners of that goes on to play the gold medal match, right?
And then the losers play the bronze.
But then how was Iga in the bronze if Iga won a semifinal? It had to have been a quarterfinal.
Huh.
But anyway, not important. The fact is, baby girl made it as further than she ever did before, much to everyone's like surprise. And I love to see people giving Iga a hard time.
You love to see it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little irked by Iga. Like I understand Danielle Collins.
Oh no, you were right. She played Iga in the bronze medal match.
So then, yeah, because Iga lost semifinals.
So what does that mean?
That means she got to the semifinal. Schmidlova was in a semifinal match, lost to Vekic.
And lost it.
Iga lost to Zhang.
Lost to Zhang.
And then Vekic and Zhang played gold, and Iga and Schmidlova played bronze.
Got it.
Zhang lost in the gold medal match, got silver, which we will discuss later on in the pod. Do we wish...
Who lost in the gold medal match? Zhang won the gold medal match.
Vekic lost the gold medal match, got silver. Iga won the bronze medal match, got bronze. Schmidlova had to play an extra match and got nothing.
But hopefully
a Nike sponsorship. So yeah, our girl Zhang, who would have thought?
I had her down for winning silver, to be fair.
You did, which you're so good at dreams, nightmares, and realities. I don't know how Bems does it, but she just predicts things. So after Miss Navarro came out to say she has no respect for Zhang said, okay, bet, and won the whole thing. Love it for her.
And became the first Chinese player to win a gold. Yes.
Period. She hates to come second, so she came first. She got the gold. And
period.
It was a pretty good win.
That was that. Yeah, it was good. She played her heart out.
And now
she saved a lot of match points, I think, on the way.
No,
as well.
She has grit. She really does. So on the men's side,
Musetti, the dad on a mission, determined dad.
All the
Daddy
puns,
long legs.
all the plays on words.
He answered our favorite question. Who gonna take out Zverev?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question that needs to be asked and answered every single time. I feel like on the men's side lately, they've been taking too long. They've been pushing it to the limit. Why do you let this guy get to a quarterfinal? Why do you let him get to semifinals? Let's be real.
But I feel like it's sweeter though, right? When he gets within touching distance and then can't get there. I love that.
Yeah. So
mind you, he was the defending gold champion from Tokyo. And he got knocked out.
Tough loss for Zverev.
And Musetti went on to take the bronze. So it was a really good Olympics campaign for him. He took the bronze over Felix Auger-Aliassime, who is a player that I quite like to watch. He frustrates me, though. Sometimes his shot selection is like, I'm just like, Felix, why would you go for that shot? I don't understand. Like, sometimes I'm like, Felix, are you kidding me? Like, he'll have the whole court open and then do the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. But one thing about Felix is that when he's playing for his country, he goes hard.
I can't relate to, like, I don't understand, like, going hard for Canada, but... That is where he's from. Sorry to all Canadians. I did want Felix Auger-Aliassime to win bronze, though. I actually would have loved if he took the whole thing.
He won bronze in the
doubles, so he took that one home. Oh, Canada.
Mixed doubles. It was his first Olympic semifinal. He had back-to-back top 10 wins. It was like a really good week for him. He was like flying high. And he competed in all three of the events. Mixed doubles, men's doubles, and singles. He played 11 matches in just 7 days, and he beat 2 top 10 players in singles. So,
when you think about how much these players who played the Olympics had on their plate, like you're trying to rep your country, you're trying to rep them in every single event, it's no wonder most of them, when they went back to hard court season, have been having a tough time.
Yeah, they've been getting knocked up and knocked out.
It's too much. They done just played 5 different categories, mixed, men's, women's, singles, then come back to play bronze.
On a different surface
It's
as
also
well.
like an extra... I mean, it's the draw was 64 for Olympics, right? So technically it's like the amount of matches as a 1,000.
Yeah,
but then when you add in the bronze match, it's now a Grand Slam.
For sure.
In terms of how many matches they play. So it's extremely strenuous for the singles, that is. Of course, the doubles draw is smaller.
Yeah, I mean, even when Carlos beat Felix, he made a point that, like, oh yeah, like, obviously it was a really good match from Carlos. Like, He played so well. But he did give credit to Felix. He's like, it must have been like a really tough day for him because he's also playing mixed. He's also playing men's doubles, and he played quite late to have to come back out today. You know, Carlos is always so gracious.
He is.
But yeah, it was a really good Olympics campaign for Felix. I feel. I was glad to see.
He took
him.
that medal back to Canada. They had a really nice like parade for him in Montreal, and he immediately lost in round 1. So we can't talk about the Olympics without talking about the men's champion Novak Djokovic. This was emotional, and if you weren't emotional in a good way, you're just a hater, because how can you look at this man who has accomplished every single thing in his career except for this? And at age 36, he made it happen.
37.
Age 37, even better. He finally got Olympic gold. It's like something that has eluded him forever.
I'm a hater because I hated it.
This is so awkward. I didn't think you would be the hater.
It was my nightmare for him to get gold. That was on my dreams, nightmares, and reality sheet, was for Djokovic to get gold. Listen, let me tell you something. I don't have anything against Novak Djokovic.
No, you have
He's
something.
An
You have
tennis
something.
player. He's accomplished so much, but I did not want him to accomplish this. This is the only thing Rafa had over him, and I wanted Rafa to have that to himself.
That is true.
I wanted Rafa to have this to himself. Like, Djokovic did not need to have everything. He didn't need to have everything.
But Rafa himself would be happy.
No, who told you that?
Listen, Rafa is not a hater. He's not a hater.
Well, I am on his behalf. And you know what? Look, I'll give it to him. He had not won any tournament or beaten any top 10 opponent all year. And everybody knows that his eye was on the gold this whole year. That's what he's been looking forward to. I was even surprised he played Wimbledon and stressed out his knee because of how much gold was on his radar.
really
Like, that's all he
is.
wanted. It was his 5th time making it to the medal rounds. He had been there 4 times in singles, once in mixed, and was 0-4 in semifinal matches at the Olympics. And then for the first time, made the Olympic final. I mean, let me give you for context his other firsts. Made the US Open final for the first time at 20 years old, Australian Open final for the first time at 20 years old, Wimbledon final for the first time at 24 years old, and Roland Garros final for the first time at 25 years old.
Yeah, I mean, this really just seals the deal on the GOAT conversation.
So that's the thing about it. If you want to talk about GOAT in terms of numbers, that's fine. But aura, impact of sport, like just general love of fans, he doesn't have it, unfortunately. And Rafa still has that. So thanks. And he was fake crying when he won. I want to put that on the record. He tried to pretend like he was weeping. He was not crying. He was faking it. But you know who was actually crying? My sweet baby Carlos.
No, Carlos was crying. And what I love is the screenshot that everyone shared online where he was just like wiping his tears with a Rolex. Because one thing about Carlos, he puts it on immediately after. He says, "I'm serious about my sponsorships." And someone said he grew up in the school of Sharapova, who also used to take her sponsorships so seriously.
It's funny because the gold medal match at the Olympics for them on the men's side, it was the youngest finalist in history and the oldest finalist in history, Carlos being 21. And Djokovic being 37. After the match, Carlos said that he felt the pressure playing for a gold medal in a way that he hadn't in any of his 4 Grand Slam finals. He was actually crying uncontrollably after losing. It meant so much to him to win for Spain. After his match with Tommy Paul, he actually came down from 2-5 in the second set to win in straight sets to reach the semifinals. And he was like, he was tired. But playing for Spain is the biggest thing for him. And every time he felt tired, he would remember that he's not just playing for me, but for all his people back in Spain. So I think he really took the loss very hard. But it was his first Olympics ever, and he got silver. Like, that's kind of a big deal, too. Do you know what I mean?
That's why you got to respect the Olympic athletes, because especially the ones who play in individual sports and who, you know, obviously tennis, there are a lot of American players. The countries have options. So when you're picked, and you reject that, I feel like you're saying, like, I can't take on the weight of my country right now. And those who do take it on, it's very noble because you're no longer just playing your individual sport for yourself.
Yeah, and you know, in order to play the Olympics, it was inevitable that he was going to withdraw from the Canadian Open, right? But that means that he forfeited 50% of his bonus pool that they get for playing the Masters, because obviously there's a minimum requirement of how many you have to play. And he had already missed Rome, so missing the Canadian Open means that he is going to lose 50% of that little bonus pool or whatever. Mind you, last year his earnings from the bonus pool was $4.2 million.
Per.
So
Big bank.
yeah, he topped the bonus pool standings last year, so it's kind of a big deal for him to pull out of that. But yeah, I think it was tough for me to watch, because honestly, anybody else in the world would have lost to Carlos that day. Like, but Djokovic was he was hitting shots. I was like, where is this coming from? Like, what's going on?
I just didn't know Djokovic still had that in him, and that dog came out. Like he
had it for the gold.
And I feel like this was truly like he was not going to let it go at all. At all. There's no way. So I feel like he might have even put his knee and everything at risk for this gold.
Yeah, I agree. With this win, him and Serena Williams are the only tennis players in history to win Olympic gold without dropping a set in the singles event. Serena did this in London in 2012, and Djokovic just did it now in 2020. But everybody was saying like, oh, they were so shocked by Iga not winning, but it's actually really not that common for the world number one to get an Olympic medal. In Rio 2016, Djokovic lost in the first round and Serena lost in the third round. They were the number ones at the time. Last 4 years, Tokyo 2021, Djokovic lost. He got fourth place. He lost in the bronze medal match. And Barty lost in round one. She was number one at the time. So I think with Iga it's a bit different because they're playing on clay. That's her thing. She literally had just won Roland Garros. So I guess the pressure was there. And I think she kind of fell under the pressure, to be honest. I don't think she was able to really hold up to it. But she did get a bronze medal, and that's, a medal is something. But that brings up a deuce debate. I've been meaning to ask ya. So, Victoria Azarenka, who is a two-time Grand Slam winner and took bronze in London 2012, when she was asked about the bronze Olympic medal, she said, "The bronze for me is so much better than silver. It has to be gold or bronze. Silver, sorry, bye-bye. I don't like it." And I guess the reason that she's saying that is because with bronze, you have to regroup from losing, come back, and win the match. But with silver, it's like you were playing for gold and lost, so you got silver. So for you, if you were an Olympian playing tennis, what would you want? Bronze or silver?
So I'm just going to bring up a little audio clip that we need to listen to because this is fundamentally what tennis is about, right?
You can't.
Oh my God, I'm going to block you. Oh my God.
You can't
Hello?
run to the ball. You have to win the match. No, I actually can't.
Hello? Production, is that allowed? Is she allowed to do that? Is that not copyrighted?
I am. This is like a quotable from what we said in the beginning, that the thing about tennis is you have to win the match. So like losing a match and then going home with a medal, I feel what Azarenka is saying, it doesn't really fit tennis. There's something off about it.
Yeah. Carlos said, and I quote him every time, finals are not for playing. They're for winning.
Carlos left with a silver medal. But in this case, with the fact that tennis is an individual sport and you either win or you lose. So losing and then having a medal, it don't really do much. Whereas winning and getting a bronze medal.
So you're team bronze?
Yeah, I'm team bronze. But that brings me to another point, because some players said that the Olympics should actually be a team format rather than an individual format. That would make the silver medal make more sense to me. Because then your individual matches wouldn't just count as individual matches, but they would count towards like your team's overall score. Right?
Like how they do Davis Cup and...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone said that would make more sense for the Olympics. It would, just with the whole like country select.
Is that how it works in gymnastics?
So the gymnastics has multiple competitions. They have the team, then they also have individual all around, and then they have individual event. So of course they have 4 different apparati.
Got it.
Is that a word?
Got
Apparatus.
It is now.
Coined it. So those are my thoughts. The silver don't really make no sense right now. It feels like a consolation prize because you just lost a match. I guess you did come the second furthest in the tournament, but usually that's not awarded in tennis. it's just the winner. Everyone just goes home with their prize money for participating, but there's no prize money here.
That's true. I mean, I guess their countries like give them a
It's all different from country to country depending on how many players they have, how many athletes they have overall. I was reading that competing for the US, they actually get a way less than some smaller countries because the US has 500 and something athletes. Imagine how much they would have to put out to award all those gold medals.
When you said that earlier, the 500 athletes, I was like,
Yeah. China and the US have the most Olympic athletes, each at just crossing 500, and close behind. Spain actually has quite a lot. Australia has a lot. What other countries? The UK has a lot. Yeah, countries with like really good athletic programs overall have a lot of players, but it also means that they get a lot of medals coming in. They got a lot of gold, a lot of silver, and they have to award each of those players. Not everybody can get like 100 or 200K. They're getting like 20, 30K in America for a gold medal.
that makes sense. So while we were in Paris, there was a tournament in the capital city of the United States, Washington, D.C., City Open. This is a joint tournament with both the ATP and WTA players playing. This is also Big Foe, Francis Tiafoe's home tournament.
Home city.
That he wants to win badly. Spoiler alert, he didn't win, but he got pretty far. He got pretty far this time, further than he's ever been. But let's start with the women's.
So I'm a little embarrassed. Because on the last episode, I was talking shit.
Big shit.
I was talking smack.
Big smack.
About Paula Badosa. I didn't put respect on her name.
Didn't.
Because also she was talking some shit herself.
Yeah. And she stays doing that.
But somehow she came around to win a 500 tournament.
She did.
Decisively too. Like the girl was on fire.
She did.
I don't know if anyone has noticed, but has she compensated for whatever chronic injury she has with like a big serve? Because she is hitting aces like nobody's business. Even now in Toronto.
I've been seeing some really clean, fast-paced ball striking from her. Especially in that three-setter against Raducanu. It was like quite an even match, but ultimately Paula just managed her nerves better in the end.
I think so.
Now she's up in the rankings and she doesn't really have any points to defend.
Yeah, that's the thing about starting from scratch, right? Once you win, it's like such a big difference because you're not losing anything. You're only adding. For those who don't know, the points system for tennis, in the calendar year, as time passes, the tournaments that you would have played the previous year, if you don't make it further, you lose those points.
Yeah, you have to defend the point.
So for someone like her who's making a comeback, she don't got nothing to defend. As soon as she wins something, it's just adding and nothing is being taken away. So she like skyrocketed in the rankings.
Unlike someone like Coco Gauff, who has the U.S. Open to defend. She has Cincinnati to defend. She already lost the points from not playing D.C. because she was at the Olympics. So someone like Corey has to really like hold on tight to this number 2 ranking because she has a heavy load here at the end of the year.
No, the pressure is definitely on for Coco because one, everybody's coming for this U.S. Open title, and I feel like it's wide open right now. And she could potentially not just fall from number 2, but fall out of the top 10 if my calculations are correct. So that's a big deal, depending on how the other top 10 players do.
Somebody else who chose to skip the City Open on the men's side to play the Olympics was my personal hero of the month, Mr. Dan Evans, who was the defending champion. He lost all of his 500 points that he got last year to play beside Murray in the Olympic doubles. He fell more than 110 ranking spots, and he is now world number 178. And he did all of that just to be able to support Andy at his last tournament. And honestly, he will be number 1 in my heart for at least the next 2 weeks.
So this is what we wanted from Miss Raducanu back at Wimbledon.
She wasn't able to do it, though, unfortunately.
She did not have it in her. Just like to respect your countryman and the legend that Andy Murray is and show up. despite like whatever personal sacrifice you're making.
Yeah, she said her wrist was stiff.
Stiff wear.
Stiff wear is hilarious. Somebody else who had an interesting run in DC that was cut short is Mr. Denis Shapovalov. Shapovalov was a really strong player a couple years ago, but has been kind of all over the place. He is not in the top 100, but was like a top 30 or 20 player at some point, I think. But he in round 3 was playing Ben Shelton, had been getting heckled by the crowd for a bit, and on match point, he was down in the tiebreak 3-6. Shelton was serving for the match. Shapovalov then has an interaction with somebody in the crowd. The chair umpire, for some reason, and I thought that this was strange, I'm not going to lie, not like condoning crowd abuse or anything like that. For the record, Shapovalov says that he was actually talking to his box and not anybody in the crowd. But the chair umpire immediately calls the supervisor. The supervisor comes on court and was defaulted, which basically means that you are immediately ejected from the match. You lose all your money that you've won up to that point. So if it's quarterfinals, you don't get the money from round 4, round 2, round 3, nothing. And you don't get any of the points that come with that either. Funny, we were just talking about the point system. So he was defaulted, which also sucks for Ben Shelton because he was literally about to win the match. Like, he had 3 match points. And the time that it took to default Shapovalov, he could have served for the match and won.
It was a pretty drastic measure.
Yeah, it was very crazy. I thought it was so, I don't know why the chair umpire didn't just like give him like, there was no warning, nothing. He just called the supervisor. I was like, that's dramatic. But anyway, Shapovalov pulled a Karen and appealed to the ATP. And they reviewed his appeal. They put out the statement that following his default from the quarterfinals of the ATP, the fines committee has affirmed that officials did follow the correct procedures in defaulting the player. However, the committee also concluded that the loss of ranking points and prize money, which is automatically applied in the case of a default, would be a disproportionate penalty in this case. So he kept his quarterfinal points, kept his money minus the fine of $36,000. But for context, the fine was about 2/3 of the prize money anyway, but I think he was more concerned with the ranking points because obviously trying to get back into the top 100.
I mean, I think it's so drastic. Do you know that for an ejection in the NBA, the fine is only $4,000? How the hell is the fine $32,000 in this case?
It's so crazy. But I guess also because tennis is supposed to be like more of a gentleman's sport. I mean, the NBA boys, they misbehave.
They have had a history of misbehaving.
That's
but like when you
brand.
say ejection or like well, I'm using ejection now because you mentioned that as like a reference to what defaulting means in tennis. But I'm thinking Draymond Green. Like, I'm thinking bad boys. You know, I'm thinking that big fight that happened like back in the day in the NBA. And this wasn't that. I believe he dropped a F-bomb, but like, aren't they allowed to curse at their coach? Like, they do that all the time. So this was definitely disproportionate.
No. They're not supposed to curse at all. They're not supposed to use any obscenities on court in whatsoever. However, the players who English is not their first language get away with it all the time. Except for that one time that Rublev had that issue because he was cussing and the linesman happened to be Russian.
Oh my like, God.
And then he was defaulted then too. But he also appealed and got it overturned. But yeah, but usually the non-English speaking players get away with murder on court. They say all sorts of things. Like when Medvedev told the chair umpire, "You are a small cat."
Medvedev is like also a little troublemaker on the court. I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah, Shapovalov before this round 3 issue beat Adrian Mannarino in the first round, sorry. And that is notable because Adrian Mannarino, who is a French player, skipped out on a home Olympics to focus on the US hard court. He lost his first match in Atlanta, lost his first round match in Washington, all to players outside of the top 200. And he has won just 2 of his last 18 matches. So I feel like you should have just played your home Olympics at
that's
point,
like it's even worse because like the Olympics were in your home city. Weird decision to make, and it's giving losing to clowns.
Yeah.
Like outside the top 100, 3 in a row, first round, wild.
Sebi Korda also skipped the Olympics. However, he was rewarded with the biggest title of his career and won the ATP 500.
Yeah, I mean, few players kind of like bore me. but Sebi Corder is just
You really don't
giving
like Sebi
nothing.
Corder.
I don't know.
I feel like you don't like him because his sisters are so much better at sports than he is. For context, if you're listening and you don't know Sebastian Corda, he's from like a family of athletes, and his sister is the best golfer probably in the world
It's crazy.
on the women's side. His dad was a former tennis player. I think his mom is as well. But yeah, he's not as good as them, but he has a title now. Biggest title of his career. And this is actually his second time skipping the Olympics.
That's weird to me. Weird behavior. But I guess, you know, he won a 500, biggest title that he's gotten thus far. And then he also went on to play really well in Toronto.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Let's move on to the National Bank Open.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and so I know why you're calling it Toronto.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. It's Montreal. Montreal.
Yeah. So the National Bank Open is also known as the Canadian Open. And every year the women play in one city and the men play in the other. So this year the women are in Toronto and the men are in Montreal. Last year the men were in Toronto and the women were in Montreal. But let's start on the women's side. There were a bunch of withdrawals, obviously, because of the Olympics. We had Swiatek out, Kochikova was out, Paulini was out. Drusova, I think, is still struggling with that Wimbledon injury. Garcia was out, even though she lost like round 1, I think, at the Olympics. But
disappointing for the French.
Sakari is out, Collins is out, and Rabakina, our fragile princess, is.
Did Rybakina swim in the Seine?
I don't know what's up with her. Like
She needs some zinc, some immunase.
Yeah, she needs some vitamin C.
She needs a B12 complex.
My favorite part of the National Bank Open so far on the women's side was Ostapenko, your Latvian gal, her round 2 match versus Badosa. During the third set changeover, she asked the chair umpire that can she have sparkling water brought to her from the players' lounge.
I mean, I feel like
I was like, what?
the thing about Ostapenko is like she's pushing this sport to new levels because there are tactics and then there are Ostapenko tactics, because who would come up with that? Like you want to like buy some time, like players have tried.
Then they brought the sparkling water, but she told him that they brought the wrong one because they brought a flavored one and she wanted the one with no taste.
She's hilarious.
Like, what is,
Aside from that, I quite enjoyed that match.
it was good.
You know, Badosa was fresh off of a big win in DC. Ostapenko, big hitter. And for me, what I like about watching Ostapenko is that it always seems like it's not too much for her. Like she misses like a shot, like she's trying to make a shot and it just goes out. She's not even that mad. She's visibly like frustrated, but it's like a joke to her. And I love that lightness about the way she plays. Even though she's super intense, it's still light and she can still just like laugh it off and like not take herself too seriously.
Yeah. Makes those funny faces,
Yeah, she has so much personality on court.
Somebody else who needs to take herself a bit more seriously
Who?
is my good sister Sloane.
Sloane.
She lost to a qualifier.
Good
in
Lord.
round
Greek
1.
Minen, who
In
she has
straight
beat.
sets, winning
I feel
only
like she has
4
beat
games.
Greek Minen this year as well. So we need to get it together, Sloane.
My thing about Sloane is that if you want to be an influencer, call us and tell us that. Let us know. Like, you know what? The tennis thing, not really my bag anymore. I'm more of an Instagram baddie. Let us know. And then we're like, all right, bet. Let's support her with the likes. But I cannot be supporting you courtside, cheering for you in a minute, for you to be losing to Greek Minen.
I don't even like Greek
Please.
Minen name.
Please,
It's
Sloane.
weird.
An open letter to Sloane Stevens. One word. Please. Signed, Serving Up the Tea podcast.
Signed Ace, signed Bems.
Like,
It's like,
please.
she just launched a business though, but yeah.
She needs to launch herself
Please.
into the 4th round.
I need another big run, Sloane.
Please.
Right, on to Coco.
Coriana. So, pre-tournament interview, Coco says she's not putting too much pressure on herself to go deep at the Canada Open because she's just more focused on finding her footing ahead of the U.S. Open title defense.
Let me just say something. She need to be finding her forehand,
Hello?
not her footing. The language needs to change.
No. She lost in round 3 to the Bandana Bandit. It's Diana Schneider.
I mean, Schneider's on a roll right now, so I'm not even surprised. This was just Schneider's time. She made it to the final, right?
No, she lost in semifinals. Schneider lost in semifinals.
Right, and Pegula reigning champion is back in the final. Woo! Toronto's actually been pretty exciting because I love when a reigning champ comes back and is like, pause, I'm back. I mean, I'll be having the best season, but this one is mine.
Yeah, she's been like struggling with a lot of injuries, right?
Yeah, but also Pegula strikes me as the tennis player who has had to be so strategic in making her way to the top. She's had to be strategic about where she puts her energy because there's no other way I can explain her just coming and holding on to this title like it's nobody's business. She's been playing amazing tennis.
Yeah. She's reached the semifinals in all 4 of her appearances. She's only the second person to do that in the history of the tournament.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the outcome of that final.
So,
I mean, opposite her in the final, it's also pretty incredible, is
Amanda
Anisimova. So it's an All-American final.
Did you know Anisimova is only 22 years old?
I couldn't guess, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, because I feel like she's been around for so long.
So long.
And she doesn't have the demeanor of a 22-year-old.
Yeah, she has it like very together and like seems very mature on court. So that's why I wouldn't have guessed. She took out Arina Sabalenka on her way to this final, which I thought was a big deal for her. Because Anisimova has not...
Their head-to-head is now 5-2.
That's crazy.
Anisimova. But she hasn't really had that many big results in a minute.
So yeah, this is a big one. But another player who was on fire in Toronto was Taylor Townsend. Fresh off of her doubles win at Wimbledon. She, I think, is rejuvenated. Like, that's what it was giving me on court. Like, she's back to like young Taylor when she was just winning singles Grand Slams.
As a junior, yeah.
She's like back on that level of play. Just in time for the US Open.
Yeah. She was actually a lucky loser in this tournament.
She was the luckiest loser.
It was the first time that anyone's done that in a Masters 1000 since the 1000s have started on the WTA side, yeah. But you know what's crazy is after losing in Toronto, she had to like drive down to Cincinnati because she couldn't get a flight or something to play qualifiers.
Listen, tennis is the ghetto.
But I do want to say I'm really worried about Coco. Like, although she said that she wasn't putting too much pressure on herself, I didn't really like what I saw. Really negative. Her confidence doesn't seem to be there. The forehand hasn't been there. And you know who else was not there was her coach, Brad Gilbert. I know that they have an arrangement where he doesn't come to everything. I think he does mostly Grand Slams and Masters 1000s. But in the past, there was another coach who was there when Brad wasn't. And he's now coaching Quinn Wen-jung.
Right.
So he's not available. And so I'm a bit worried about this setup that they have with Brad Gilbert, because like he's commentating for Tennis Channel and he's doing interviews with Paula Badosa and stuff. But your player doesn't have a forehand. Like, I don't think you should be anywhere but next to
and
her.
Another thing that I hope has kind of transferred from like this Olympic season to a lot of these tennis players that we actually care about is everybody needs to be taking a note from Simone Biles' book in terms of getting your mental together so you can come and perform. I think that's what Coco needs right now. She needs to really be zoning in on how she can mentally hold it down as she goes into what is going to be the toughest time of this season for her to defend a big win like her US Open win last year. The pressure is going to mount.
Yeah, she's back on the practice courts. I saw some videos of her practicing and Brad was with her. But I'm not a professional tennis player. I'm not. I do play tennis recreationally. And I know that when you're playing a forehand shot, the racket is supposed to end up over the opposite shoulder. And for some reason, in this video I'm watching where her coach next to her, I'm seeing the head of Coco's racket at her hip. I said, what's it doing down there?
It's very strange because normally when you send a forehand over your hip, the ball is going in the net.
It is. It's going nowhere else.
So what are they teaching?
I don't get it. I just don't get it. Somebody else who was really frustrating me in Toronto, Nene.
Osaka.
Like, what's up? What's up? And her loss to mind you, she had an amazing performance against Ons Jabeur.
Amazing.
Round 1. Mind you, Ons had withdrawn from City Open with a right shoulder injury right? So, I mean, it definitely wasn't Ans's best match by any stretch of the imagination, but Naomi played really well.
She did.
I hate her outfit. She's wearing an iteration of that Wimbledon top with the ruffles, but in blue. And then, sorry, against On, she paired it with like with some black shorts. It was horrible. She then started wearing it with like a white mini skirt.
It was marginally better with the skirt.
But even then, pretty bad. But anyway, lost to Mertens, who she shouldn't be she should not be losing to Elise Mertens. Like, no shade, no tea. Why are you losing to Elise Mertens? Why are you missing 30 returns of serve?
With someone who's not a big server.
Like, you had just beaten Ons. Why are you losing to Elise Mertens in round 2 of Toronto on hard court? All year you said you're looking towards hard court season. Now we are here. We are in hard court season. And now I'm looking for you. I can't find you. What's going on? Naomi.
Elise Mertens is one of those players on tour who's just like a disruptor. She just shows up.
I hate when you start making excuses for Naomi, please.
I'm not. I'm just giving Mertens her flowers because this is what she does. She does show up and play good every now and again, and it's at like the most annoying times.
Right now, I don't see Naomi making a deep run at the U.S. Open. She isn't making enough returns. She pulls the trigger entirely too early. When a rally does get going, it's like she doesn't build the point. She just bam. Why are you doing that? And the issue is like players are way better at taking her pace. She's such a big hitter, but players are doing better with the balls that she's giving them now.
It's like she has to re-strategize because what was working in 2018 to 2020 is not the same thing working now. The girls have adjusted.
And she talks so much about how she has such a good relationship with Wim Fissette. But I feel like, is it a good relationship? Are you guys just like comfortable? Like, is it just two people sharing one brain cell going, yes, like what's happening?
Two dumb girls saying, exactly. No, something needs to happen because we need to see Naomi back on top. Like, I'm going to pray on that because it needs to happen.
And it needs to happen soon.
I'm not ready for her to be done with Grand Slam winning. How old is she now? She's going on 26.
I don't think she's 25.
I think she's like 25 now. So she does still have time to pull it together.
Really? I thought she was like 24.
Going on 25. That's what I said. But
she's actually 26.
I was correct the first time.
You were.
I felt like she had the kid. She got pregnant at 24, had the kid, and now she's 26. That's kind of my timeline for her. She does have some more time to pull it together, but sooner rather than later would be preferred, Naomi, as a fan.
But on the men's side of Toronto, there were also withdrawals based on the Olympics. Djokovic, Alcaraz, Musetti, Jiri Lehechka wasn't playing. Daminar didn't play. Cerundolo, Sebastian Baez, John Leonard Struff, and Triple Z, Zhang Zhang all did not play.
And the Olympians that did play lost. I feel like it was just entirely too rough of a schedule.
Tsitsipas lost. Tommy Paul lost. Medvedev lost. Yeah. I also saw that players were complaining about the balls. Like, they were, like, apparently very light and, like, flying all over the place. Apparently the balls were flying in Montreal. Medvedev said it. Darren Cahill said it. Apparently Sinner did not like the balls because he likes to hit the balls really flat. Francis Tiafoe, who had a really good week, run-ish at his home tournament, beat Rublev, but then lost in round 1 to Tabilo. Really, really poor in that match. His win-loss record in the year is now 19-18. I don't know what's up, but I think we're going to get one of those long Instagram captions soon, and his girlfriend is probably going to...
I mean, what he has to realize is that he got his career and his girlfriend's career in his hands. If he don't win, her vlog can't continue.
Yeah, he needs to get on his Zoom.
So every time he cuts it short, she also has to go back home.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah, if he wants it to remain a dual income household, he needs to pull it together.
Unfortunately for the Canadians, they were 0-4 in first round matches. There was a late withdrawal from Milos Raonic. He's riddled with injuries. It sucks though, because I like watching him play. Really mean serve, really good ball sense. But I think he has some injuries on him. So the Canadians did not have a good time in Montreal. Sinner, the defending champion, which I believe this is why he didn't play Olympics. I don't think he had tonsillitis. I love Sinner. You know that's my guy, but come on now. He lost to Rublev in the quarterfinals. He says he was ill. He wasn't at 100%. He said he was in bed for several days and his form isn't at 100%. He says not to expect him to be 100% in Cincinnati, but he is trying to be 100% for U.S. Open because that is the most important event for him. Just please note that the defending U.S. Open champion is his rival, Carlos Alcaraz.
Alcaraz.
So let's see how that goes.
As he said in his Olympic name pronunciation. There are a few names I really like to say. Lehechka is one of them.
I love Lehechka. That's a good one.
Shapovalov, hard. I don't know.
Shapovalov.
It's hard. Anyway, coming up is Cincinnati. That's the next 1,000 level tournament. It is another tournament that our billionaire baby's daddy owns. His company is the leading sponsor, I guess. Or do they own it? Or are they sponsors or own the tournament? Which one is it?
Are you asking if he owns the license?
Because two different things. But anyway, she's back home basically. Qualifiers are underway right now because it starts literally the day after Toronto for the women and Montreal for the men. Naomi, she has to play qualifiers.
She lost.
And she lost. And what was funny to me is that I just never imagined Naomi having to play qualifiers for a tournament of this level.
It's her first time playing qualifiers since 2018. She didn't get a wild card, but Bianca Andreescu did. I think that's so crazy.
Yeah, weird.
Like, no shade to BB, but like, Naomi is an American. I mean, she's not an American.
I mean, I guess the tournament has to do what the tournament has to do. So Naomi tweeted that Delta lost her bags and that she wouldn't be able to play in Cincinnati. And I'm thinking, sis, it's like 5 days until the tournament starts. What's the rush?
She needed them because she was playing qualifying.
Exactly. I didn't know. I didn't realize. I was like, sis, you don't have to play yet. Like, you have a few days of downtime and just practice. Like, just get any racket and practice. But it's actually because she needed her full set and her full kit for qualifiers, which unfortunately she didn't make it through. Joko has also withdrawn from Cincinnati.
Yeah, he's not going to play a warm-up tournament before the U.S. Open because he didn't play Toronto either. I don't know what he's playing at.
I think he's playing at I Done Did It All.
No, because he wants 25 Grand Slams. He wants to beat Margaret Court, even though her 24 doesn't even count.
Yeah, but I'm saying he also has to preserve the body, right? Because his knee.
Yeah, he should probably just save it. He should probably just like go for 25 in Australian Open, to be honest.
You think so? Save it all the way till next year?
I mean, yeah, his knee. Oh my gosh, but you know, Hubie Hurkacz had the same little surgery thing.
For real?
With the knee, and he's been playing normally. Yeah, so we might have to eat our words like
this year.
Yes, Hubie Hurkacz. Just the diving thing I was talking about last time.
Oh shit! Yes.
And he was playing 3-setters like he has been playing normally, and he did the knee thing. I'm
actually gonna ask a doctor to break down this surgery for me because I need to know what it is they're doing. Is it just like a platelet injection that they're calling a surgery? What is it?
I can't tell. But yeah.
So Joko's out. He's not going to play a tournament before the U.S. Open. That means he's coming in like a Trojan horse because nobody's going to know what form he's in. You know?
Yeah. That also means that the favorites are now Sinner and Alcaraz.
Yeah.
Easily. Alcaraz is practicing with my baby Berrettini this week. Apparently that's one of his favorite hitting partners.
That's so cute.
Yes.
What a vibe.
Okay, so Trump has been talking about build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. And currently, in the top 15 of the ranking, there is an American wall of players from number 12 to 15.
Not in top 10, but they're definitely like coming up on it. Like pretty soon, one of them is going to break through. Especially since the big tournament coming up is the U.S. Open. They're going to be playing in front of home crowds. I'm sure one of these four or Tiafoe is going to have a big run.
Or Tiafoe is so funny.
Like he's not top 15, but he's...
Taylor Fritz is number 12. Tommy Paul is number 13. Ben Shelton is number 14. And Stebby Korda, Ace's favorite, is number 15.
No, of these four, my fave it's Ben Shelton. Love Tommy Paul. He's close second, but I'm a Ben Shelton babe.
You need to not love my man, okay? Love him less. Thanks.
Noted.
Yeah, Tommy and Ben are my favorites for sure. I have grown to like Fritzy. Sebi Korda is like watching paint dry to me. Like there's not much there.
Like oyster white paint dry. Anyway,
TT Pa's players box is
that box is bumping.
So TT Pa lost to Kei Nishikori, world number 576, who basically hasn't played tennis for like the past 3 years. He beat TT Pa in straight sets. It was Nishikori's first top 20 player win in 3 years, and TT Pa did not react well to this. He said he's firing his daddy. Who is his coach?
Yeah, and then he came out to say that he should never talk about his daddy like that in public, which I agree with.
But you know what's so funny? When him and Badosa first started dating, there kept being these pictures of Badosa like giving Tsitsipas' dad the side eye. But it's probably because she knew how her man really felt about his dad as coach. But this isn't the first time that he's let his dad go. The same thing happened, I think, like a year ago or so. And then he fired the replacement coach. But he had a really like vocal presser. He said he's been complaining to his coach about not being able to perform in his forehand. And they actually had a conversation during the match. But he said that, you know, it's a Masters 1000. It's an important match, and he deserves he needs and deserves a coach that listens to him and hears his feedback as a player. He said, and I quote, "My father hasn't been very smart or very good at handling those situations. It's not the first time he has done that. I'm really disappointed at him." End quote. That's
a lot to say about you,
Like,
daddy.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
This is a Wendy's. No, that's a lot to say about your daddy in a damn press conference. I feel like he should have kept that under control and just kept it professional.
He didn't do that though.
Because as a dad, that's so hard to hear.
Yeah. He later apologized for the statements, but he still maintained that he will no longer be working with his dad as his coach. Another breakup that we're having is our favorite
Murtugu
lovers
and Rune have decided to part ways.
have broken up yet again. So maybe Titi Pa will get
That would be
Murtugu.
interesting. That
Who
would be
knows?
interesting to see.
Who knows? And here on Serving Up the Tea, we like to make a point to talk about the doubles. So let's get into some doubles trouble.
Doubles trouble.
Medvedev is my favorite doubles player because he hates it. And when they asked him what is so confusing to him about doubles, he said, 4 people being on court disturbs me. Sir, why are you here?
No, because Medvedev is so funny. Like, the choice of words.
Sir, when they said doubles, what did you understand?
What did
by
you
that?
think it meant? Do you think it's like he's trying to develop a certain skill set, so he's like by force playing doubles to do so? Because there are some things that only playing doubles in competition, like that's the only way to develop those skills. I feel like there must be a strategy to this because he physically.
He hates it. He hates it so much. He hates every second of it. It's so funny. But yeah, that might be, maybe he's like trying to work on his volleys. Or,
I think so.
I
It
don't
must
know.
be
I
strategic.
don't know. Net play, I can't tell. Speaking of strategy, Jessica Pegula and Coco Gauff are going their separate ways. They are both going to focus on their singles, and they will not be playing doubles together anymore, as told by Jess Pegula.
So my thing is it that they're focusing on singles, or is Coco only going to pair with the top tier doubles player, Siniakova, who's like clearly the winning ingredient in a doubles pairing?
Honestly, Siniakova's resume is kind of insane. Like,
She has
actually
a double
very crazy.
sauce.
She has 27 career titles. She's won the Olympics in mixed, in women's, in like if you want to win, you gotta get Siniakova.
Join the line, because
That's
she
it.
probably has so many
Like-
players telling her every day, like, oh my God, one day we gotta play. She has her pick at this point
Yeah.
because you getting a title with her.
For sure. A very cute story in the doubles world this week is Leylah Fernandez. You really like her as well.
I do.
She's a Canadian player who, if anyone remembers the U.S. Open where Emma Raducanu won, she is the one who came second place to Emma, was playing amazing tennis that tournament as well. She played doubles with her 20-year-old sister, Bianca Fernandez, who was world number 911 in doubles and is now 331. She jumped nearly 600 spots because she played Masters 1000, and they got, I think, into the quarterfinals or semifinals.
Listen, that is sisterhood.
Very, very cute. And Leylah did the cutest post for her sister.
That
I thought
is
it was adorable.
sisterhood.
Yeah, literally. Literally sisterhood. Very, very cute.
Where you can't go, your sister will carry you.
Literally. And Leylah actually said that there were matches where Bianca was carrying her, like she was doing the things that she wasn't able to do. So I thought that was very cool and very sweet. Speaking of carrying, of course we had Nadal Karath at the Olympics, which was honestly a joy to watch. I think I spoke about it last week when we were doing our Olympics preview, about how like cool it was for me to see that. Like, I want to really recognize what the longevity of Rafa's game has been for him to be able to still be active and playing with a player like Alcaraz, who grew up like
Watching
in the era
Nadal.
where Rafa was dominating. Although when he was growing up, his favorite player was Federer, but I think he's always had like love for Nadal as a Spaniard. They got into the quarterfinals of the Olympics, and Carlos said he enjoyed every second he got to play doubles with Rafa. There was a lot of criticism about Carlos as a doubles player, but I don't know if that's fair. It's really like it was pretty much his first time playing doubles, and I think he did.
Yeah. I definitely can see why for someone like Carlos, who he's used to just being alone out there.
And all over the place, yeah.
Now to adjust to having someone with you and not going for every ball, it like messes up his timing.
He's known for his court coverage, right?
Now you don't have to cover the whole court.
But it was a joy for me to watch them together.
I love their pairing.
Yeah. I was really happy that he was able to do that with Rafa.
And I need them to play more.
Yeah. Rafa has kind of like gone AWOL again. He kind of does that. But I'm hoping that we see him again soon. He did say he's going to play the Labour Cup in Berlin in September. So we'll see. I hope he's not planning to retire like Federer did, but let's see.
I mean, he also said to us that we should stop asking about this damn retirement.
Yes. He was like, it's like you guys want me to retire. But I think people are just anxious. Like they want to know what's up. Like, they want to know what to expect.
He don't know when it's going to be. Listen, sir, you brought this upon yourself. I said this last episode. He's the one who came out with the retirement announcement.
He doesn't want to go though.
But clearly it's been very hard for him, understandably. So yeah, it's tough. I personally feel that if Djokovic doesn't have a good run at this US Open, he should just call it. Like, don't even do this to us with like, oh, I'm retiring and I'm going down. Just retire on a high, because when you start to go down, it becomes harder to retire, I think. That's what it looks like.
There was actually a really sad moment thinking of retiring. Rajiv Ram, the USA doubles specialist, he's 40 years old and lost in the gold medal match at the Olympics to the Australian team. But this is his second time taking silver. He has a silver for mixed doubles in 2016 with Venus Williams. And you could tell that like I think he knows like he's not going to come back and play in the Olympics at the age of 44. You know what I mean? So I think he knew that this was his last chance for gold. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to get it. And it was really tough to watch it like sink in real time. I was like, damn, you hate to see it, literally.
Literally.
But Irani and Paolini took gold.
That's correct.
Irani, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but she is a former top 5 singles player.
She's had such an illustrious career.
And she was off the tour basically for like 10 years. Now she's back dominating in doubles and like basically like pulling Paolini along with her. I don't think it's a coincidence that Paolini's single success is right alongside this double success that she's having with Irani. Irani is like always in her box, very super supportive. And as a former top 5 player herself, I think that that's definitely boosted and helped Paolini quite a bit. And I really love their sisterhood as well.
Yeah, I think one
very
thing
cute.
that Paolini can
It's very,
learn
very cute.
from Irani is like Paolini's been in the game so long and she's been grinding for so long. And it would mean a lot to see another player who's also had to like stay in this game a long time to see success. So that must be quite motivating for them to be paired up and partnered like that.
For sure. Speaking of partners, so I don't know if you know this, but Zhang, his partner in doubles on tour is Thomas Mahak, and Mahak beat him round 1 in men's singles at the Olympics, and then also beat them in the mixed doubles finals. Do you know how annoying that is? Like, I thought we were friends.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It's not me, it's you.
Yeah, like they're actually partners on tour, and he beat him in like both times he faced him. He beat him, but I'm sure it's all good in the hood. Let's wrap up with some net-worthy news, and then we'll talk about what's next on tour.
Yeah.
Andy Murray. I don't even want to do too much because you know I'm gonna get emotional because I love him.
And you will just go on forever and ever.
But the LTA has announced that the Queen's Club Center Court is gonna be renamed. The
Oh
Andy
my
Murray Arena.
God.
He won the title there 5
Name a
times.
court after him, of course.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry.
And Queen's Club is so iconic as well. Like
Yeah.
after Wimbledon in the UK, it's Queen's Club.
Yeah,
That's huge and deserved.
yeah. So they're gonna name Center Court after him. Yeah. Speaking
Yep.
of Wimbledon, now that Carlos has been paid, his
The check
Wimbledon
has
salary-
cleared.
The check is cleared. On the ATP side of things, he is number 1 in the money rankings, and he is now, listen to this, 9 all time
At
in the
age
money
21.
rankings of all time in the money. Yeah, mind you though, like to be fair, the money rankings are not adjusted for inflation, right? So obviously, whatever Del Potro won back in the day is not going to be adjusted
Yeah.
to match what it would mean in today's money, right? So it's just like whatever. it
Because
was
the
is what
purse
it
keeps
is.
expanding.
On the list in order, I'll go to number 9. Djokovic is number 1, Nadal number 2, Federer number 3, Murray number 4, Zverev number 5, Pete Sampras number 6, Medvedev number 7, Stan Wawrinka number 8, and Carlos is number 9. That's serious.
It is.
Yeah. And also please note that these are winnings from playing only, not endorsements and stuff like that. But the top 5 so far this year is Alcaraz number 1, Sinner number 2, Zverev number 3, Medvedev number 4, and Djokovic number 5.
Yeah, but I do think someone needs to come up with the formula to adjust it for inflation, because winning 4 point whatever at US Open, that was not happening back in the early 2000s. Like it was like maybe 1 point something, you know, and they were like, I watched how the prize money has grown over years. And there definitely was a huge jump from like 1999
Yeah.
to 2000. So it just doesn't really make sense to compare all time.
Even this year, the US Open has increased their purse dramatically. Like first round is up 23%. It's the largest player compensation purse
Yeah.
in tennis history. Round 1 is getting $100,000 before tax, obviously, but like it's the biggest purse of all time. In any
And you know what I
tournament
like
ever.
about how they're adjusting the purses these years is that I think the USTA or the ITA, is making sure that the Grand Slams focus on the earlier rounds rather than only increasing the prize money for the champion. Because what that does is it allows more players to kind of sustain themselves as professional tennis players.
Yes.
Because that's where the bulk of players end their US Open or their Grand
Yes.
Slam run. It's in round 1. And that also helps the qualifiers.
Because at least if you're getting round 1 in 4 Grand Slams, that means that you're making $400,000
6
a year
figures.
at
You
least.
can pay your coaches. You can keep playing the sport. You can pay for all your flights. Tennis is expensive. So
Yeah.
I love that they're making sure to focus on the earlier rounds and qualifiers to make sure that those players can keep going for longer. I think that's going to add a lot of longevity to the sport, and more equity.
Yeah, for sure. Even though at Grand Slam level, the purses are equal on the ATP and WTA side, that is, of course, not the same at the other tournaments. Even, for example, the National Bank Open, also known as the Canadian Open, which is a shared tournament, the purses are not the same. The men are making significantly more than the women. I think the winner of the men's is making like $1 million, whereas the women's side is maybe like 600,000.
Yeah, there's still huge
or something.
gaps
It's quite a difference.
across the rest of the tour.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's next on tour, darling? Let us know.
So next on tour,
We're in the hard
of
court
course,
swing.
the big one that we're looking forward to is the US Open. But before that, we have a lot of important tournaments that the players are using to warm up, to adjust back to hard court, and just to get their points in. So on the WTA side, we have the Western and Southern Open, which is both men and women. So WTA and ATP. The women then have a 500 tournament and a 250. On the men's side, they really just have Western and Southern Open, which is a Masters level tournament, and then they have a 250 before the big one, the Grand Slam, US Open. So, yeah.
Woo. Hard court,
I guess
hard times.
from
Let's
now,
go.
you guys will wait to hear from us reporting live from Flushing Meadows.
So on the next episode, we'll have our previews of the US Open. We'll have our reviews of the hard court swing, and that should inform our predictions, dreams, nightmares, and realities. I want everybody to put it on their prayer list for AC to get at least one right.
Or at least close to right. Like if I say final, let it at least be a semifinal run. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. But that's all for today. All right, Game Set Chat, baby.
Bye, guys. Signing off.
Bye-bye.